The Last Parable by Father Leonardo Castellani. Translated by Eric Diamond. I knew that it wouldn't end well, but I never imagined that he would succumb in such a frightening manner. He didn't lack for advice. My words were more or less as follows. We have to take this as our starting point. It's necessary for us to take heed of the powerful. And it's not difficult if you put yourself in their place. In fact, it's absolutely indispensable. We have to take men as they are, and not as we want them to be. It's useless to try and pass yourself off as something tremendous before one who has real power. You in some way must already realize this. Your style of writing is magnificent. It's just a matter of a couple little phrases. Perhaps a sentence or two here or there, sometimes nothing at all. But these little phrases, they irritate a lot of people, and if they were suppressed, it wouldn't hurt the literary beauty of your work, not by any means. More to the point, you have to learn to resign yourself to not dealing with themes that are too hot to handle. No matter how you treat them, you're always going to end up upsetting someone. And beyond all of this, you have to learn how to win over Caiaphas. At the end of the day, Caiaphas genuinely appreciates you. However much he might be bogged down with other things, he's not a man devoid of literary taste. One day I even heard him talking about you. His works are splendidly composed, he told me. The cadence is perfect, the metaphors are rich, the tropes are all original. It's just a shame that an occasional excess comes to spoil the whole thing. If this man honestly put himself forward with all his soul to walk upon the path signaled to him by the law and by his superiors, he could do a tremendous amount of good, and without ever ceasing to be a gifted writer. Your parables are excellent. Some of them are masterpieces of the genre. You're a real genius. I can assure you that you have a gift. The parable of the prodigal son is something flawless, the exact same with the parable of the talents, even if the doctrine is a bit strange. The one with the rich man and Lazarus is perhaps too strong and a bit violent. The rich could get offended at that. Now, the parable of the unjust steward I personally understand well, but I think it's more fit for highly learned men, and would have been better to have suppressed the parable of the laborers in the vineyard. The writing is a bit too bold, decidedly so. Besides, one less parable isn't going to harm the fame of a writer as well-renowned as yourself. There are a lot of people who took that one badly. Very, very badly. After all, this isn't Nazareth. We aren't little boys anymore. In a big city like this, you have to understand that beyond nature, there is an even greater reality. Politics. The lilies of the field, the birds of the air, the figure of the sower, it's all well and good. There in that sweet pastoral ambience, it's all so close. The kingdom of heaven, the celestial Father, the cause of truth. It almost seems like one could just reach out and grasp it, like one could touch heaven itself with the tips of one's fingers. But here in the city, we have to deal with all these intricate mechanisms, all those offices and organizations which, although they also tend towards God in their own way, do so perhaps somewhat less directly. Every organization has its flaws, to be sure. We're dealing with men, after all, and not angels. They might even have rotten spots. And supposing this were so, we wouldn't be able to cure them right now. We just don't have the tools. From the hill we could see the synagogue of Caesarea, that great snub building which rests between its scaffolds like a sleeping animal. I told him, let me say it again. At the end of the day, Caiaphas isn't inaccessible. You upset him a lot and you've offended him even more. I think he might be starting to thin out because of all the worrying you've caused him. But at the end of the day, he's a pontifex, a man who is, above all, consecrated to God. Think of the enormous work he is afflicted with in having to administer the temple funds. What human being could support such a burden and not be one of God's own? He's even gone as far as to have not taken a wife because of this. I repeat once more, Caiaphas is accessible. He's not even trying to prohibit you from preaching. He's only trying to direct your preaching so that it's in accordance with the norms. When all is said and done, they are all your superiors, and everything that is within you has to be rendered to them in blind submission. If they have failed, God will call them to give an account. It gives great peace to be able to resign one's conscience to that of another. We have to grab onto this idea with all of our strength. The truth must be administered. Pure truth is not potable for human beings. It needs a filter, palliatives, and administration. And who better to administer it than the one who has been officially nominated to do so? You have to realize what a great flourishing of religion this building represents for such a turbulent and paganized city, not to speak of all those chapels, lectionaries, and shrines, which have been just scattered about. Loving God in spirit and truth is very good, but listen, man isn't just a spirit. Money is necessary for everything, even in matters of religion. You don't understand the massive spiritual good lying in the seedbed of this great building now being constructed, the good that will be done by the faithful in that house of God, so aptly directed by Jonathan, the architect. But that good is only going to come at the price of millions of sestercios, and if we are being honest with ourselves, you have never been a man who knows what it is to earn one's bread. It is all well and good to open the book and say, "The prophet of Isaiah said, 'The Spirit of God has commanded me to cry out in the desert, come and I will show you from where the fountain of living water blossoms.' But to say this, there needs to be a roof, especially if it's raining. For there to be a roof, there needs to be a great pavilion. For there to be a great pavilion, there needs to be a lot of money. A lot of money. And with money, one needs to administer it well. Caiaphas is undoubtedly a capable administrator, as even you will not venture to deny me. Oh, it's so easy to scorn those who don't have a way with words. But is it the case that preaching is for everyone? What is most necessary in every human society is administration. They are all caught in the middle of the whirlwind of politics, and you and I, humble Nazarenes, village poets, crackpot writers of the most amateurish sort, what need have we to touch themes that are too hot to handle, having so many other things about which we could write with pleasure, and to the satisfaction of all? You tell me that before everything else the preacher has to make himself heard, because a preacher whom no one listens to and the wind are the same thing. And to make oneself heard, one needs to speak of the kingdom, because today the whole world has gone mad for this business of the kingdom. Fine, all well and good, but one thing is to speak of the kingdom in general terms, as it should be spoken of, and another is to get down to all the little details, even to the point of alluding to the followers of Hillel, the Herodians, the Sadducees, and worst of all, the Romans. My God, religious piety has nothing to do with any of those things, and all that we are called to be interested in is piety. A religious man must eat, breathe, speak, and live piety at every single moment, just as our great fathers the prophets did, who were themselves walking embodiments of piety. Nothing more than absolute piety and religious devotion. That doesn't offend anyone. Now, if it is true what they have told me, namely that you have begun to apply the prophecies to yourself, and to take, as would be so proper to your naivete, the words of Holy Scripture literally, well then what do you want me to tell you? Frankly, we've been friends since childhood, and for my part, though I don't have any desire to repudiate your friendship, there are things which pass real limits, and things of which I, sincerely, saying this with all the frankness that our friendship allows for, don't even begin to understand. That's exactly what I told him. May God strike me dead if I have spoken a lie. Oh Jesus, I saw that this would not end well, but I never once imagined, my God, that they would end up crucifying him. Good God, crucified.